start with Smitty then. Tell me who made your first team All-NBA honor.
Well, I'm going as a guard. As you can see, Steph Curry. What an unbelievable season he's had. I think the best out of all his MVP seasons. No, he won't win the MVP in my opinion, but what a year he's had. And then Dame Lillard, at a point in this season, he was my MVP. He was carrying his team and the league. And then the Jokic is my MVP guy. I did pick Giannis Antetokounmpo. Easily with the numbers could have been. I think voters might have got fatigued because he's always up there because Jokic. And then Julius Randle. Yes.
All right.
First team for me. No one had the Knicks making the playoffs. They have home court advantage.
I mean, that's tough, man. And look, I'm not going to argue with yours.
Nope.
I mean, this is all subjective. I got Luka the Don. I got Steph Curry. I got my MVP this year. It's the Joker. And you said it. Giannis could be the MVP this year. I just think they're going to see what he does in the playoffs before they get back on the Giannis train.
And you start to take for granted what you see him do
Yeah, well, they're used
out.
to seeing that. Now you got to show me something new, and something new is in the playoffs, and then Tatum. Look, that validates my pick with putting Tatum on the first team. He had 50 in the play-in game. So I feel, look, I don't argue with people about MVP and first, second, and third team. All of these guys are deserving. So wherever they fall, it's just subjective. It's just hard because it's so many great players who've had so many great years. And think about it. The usual suspects, LeBron and AD and those guys, because of injuries,
They
made it harder for
many
us.
games
Didn't
this
get enough
season.
games.
One of the things that Coach just mentioned is that he feels validated selecting Jason Tatum because he did drop 50 in the play-in game. You chose Julius Randle, but his team has avoided a play-in game altogether. They're already in the playoffs.
I'm with Sam. I mean, it's subjective. And I just love the way Julius Randle, he's a most improved player, in my opinion, in this league. And then I think also just looking at his numbers, to be able to go out there and average 6 assists, also lead this team. Him and R.J. Barrett was the two go-to guys. I just feel he had push for them to get into the home court, have home court. He was the guy. And it wasn't easy when you start looking at that list.
Right.
Because I used to just mark in LeBron and AD. No, LeBron and AD for me on that first team made it a little bit of difficult because Kevin Durant used to be penciled in.
Yep.
LeBron penciled in.
Yeah.
It was totally different because of
James Harden penciled in.
Yes.
Right. Well, okay, then let's get to your second and third team. Smitty, take me through yours first.
Well, my second team is Luka Doncic and then Chris Paul. Chris Paul, what he has done with that Phoenix Suns team, they had a chance to have the #1 overall record. And then Joel Embiid, and that was one where he was labeled where you could have put him in as a forward or a center.
Right.
I could have been put him in as a forward, Sam, and he definitely would have made it. But I look at him as he's the center. Jokic, in my opinion, had a better year. He could have, but he missed a lot of games. And then my two forwards was Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. Third team, Donovan Mitchell, Kyrie Irving, Rudy Gobert, Tatum, and Butler. And I will say, Devin Booker is the one it was that triangle of Mitchell, Irving, Devin Booker. I struggled, Kristen, because Devin Booker is a guy I thought could have, just didn't make it on mine.
Coach,
Here's my second
yeah,
team.
you
Look,
disagreed, huh?
Damian Lillard, Kyrie Irving, Smitty said that Dame could have been MVP this year, all right? You look at Joel Embiid, he could have been the MVP if he would have played enough games. Julius Randle, that was tough for me. I love Julius Randle. The way he plays, how physical he is. I'm so glad for him to be on my second team. And then Kawhi Leonard speaks for himself. On that third team, Smitty, I struggled, but I took Booker over Chris Paul for this reason. If you remember, Phoenix were 8-0 in the bubble last year without Chris Paul. So we saw this coming. Chris Paul just brought them all together a little bit more, but we saw the rise of this Phoenix Sun team in the bubble with Booker, and then the rest speaks for itself, Bradley Beal, Gobert, and those guys. So, again, it's hard, but I just felt like Devin Booker deserves some love. He's a leading scorer. He carried that team in the bubble, put him on his back, and then all of a sudden Chris Paul get there and he's played great, and people have forgot how special Devin Booker. He set the table for all this. None of this happens. Chris Paul may not even want to be there if Devin Booker and what they did in the bubble last year.
You did start by saying that it was just season after season expected that you pencil LeBron right on in, but neither of you had him on your first, second, or third All-NBA team. Smitty, I'll start with you. Was it simply due to the number of games he played? And if so, what's the baseline on that?
Well, I'll tell you this, Kristen. If I was starting my team, if I was coaching right now, I'm taking LeBron James.
Right, yeah.
I think the baseline was.
In case you're watching,
Kristen, he didn't have enough
to clarify.
Games. That was all for me.
Right.
And that's, look,
He just didn't have enough games.
it can't be Lifetime Achievement Award. I hate that. You know, I don't care how great a player you are. You can be great for 50 years. On that 51st year, if you don't bring it, you shouldn't be an all-star or first, second, or third team All-NBA. And if you miss too many games, look at that. It's just
Right.
it's a slap in the other player's face when guys miss that a third of the season and you discount what they've done. These guys are old enough and mature enough. They understand.
You see how many games that each of these guys have missed just
It's only
this season.
72 games this
And
year.
those four, by the way, have combined for 36 All-NBA teams. So really, you're just looking for a fifth, and you've got an all-time All-NBA team right there, just talking about games missed. I do want to go back to what Coach said about Chris Paul as well, that Devin Booker kind of laid the groundwork for now what many are crediting Chris Paul with at this point, and you did include him in your All-NBA.
And I did. I just looked at it as the way he taken just what Sam said to the next level. I thought what they had started, and I thought they might have ended up in sixth, fifth, not one game out of being able to have the best record.
Right.
Then I also looked, when I looked at the Brooklyn Nets, I said they're second, and then I went to Kyrie's numbers. He was 50, 40, 90, averaging 27 points.
People forget Kyrie Irving could have been the MVP if he
Right.
played enough games.
So it was totally tough, and people know Devin Booker is one of my favorite players, so that was tough for me not to have him on there, but I take my hat off to him, but also Monty Williams should get some love, and not because of the record. We know Chris Paul, we know Devin Booker, and I think Chris Paul has really done a nice job of helping DeAndre Ayton, but what he's done to those young guys, Mikal Bridges, Cam Johnson, have the way they play, Cameron Payne, who was out the league.
Who was in Memphis with me working out,
Yes.
20 pounds overweight when I was an
Yes.
assistant in Memphis, couldn't run 3 trips back and forth up and down the court. And look what he's
Which,
doing now.
who among us, right? All right. Well, I'm glad you mentioned Monty because we are going to talk to Coach Williams later on.